Breaking a story is gross. It's gross, sweaty work, and it's only fun if it's going well. And it's only going well about 5% of the time. As a result, a lot of cool story ideas get left unmade. But with the Story Clock Workbook, you can break open your story ideas to quickly find an organic narrative structure, mining your ideas, resources, and inspiration for every last ounce of potential. Whether you're looking to write a screenplay, novel, sermon, wedding toast, ransom note, even a podcast ad, the Story Clock Workbook can help you get your story ideas out of your head alive. Learn more about how you can make writing less gross at plotdevices.co and get 20% off your first order by using the code GAMESHOW at checkout.
Yeah, it's a movie about like, hey, these people are dogs now, but really it's a movie like, hey, you know, like this part of your life is scary. Like you gotta like it's no longer small decision time. You know what I mean? Like this is like rest of your life stuff.
We are definitely pulling that quote for our Instagram share with the transition. I mean, yeah, you know, sure, it's a movie about people who turn into dogs, but also it's just such a good lead. Oh, man.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Seth. And that's let's ask who the guy mowing the lawn outside my window is. What's your name, sir? He can't hear me because he's mowing loudly.
Luckily, I can't hear him, Seth. But
so I sound like a crazy person. Well, then I'm Seth.
And welcome to the Writers Room Game Show. It's the podcast where every week we generate an original feature film idea from scratch in under 60 minutes, working from a set of random prompts given to us by a big Hollywood studio in the form of an iPhone shortcut. So it's not really a big Hollywood studio, is it, Seth?
Sure it is. At the beginning of every episode, the studio assigns us, the contestants, a new project consisting of 4 components: the genre, the tone, the target audience, and a studio mandate. What's a studio mandate, you ask? Well, maybe Meryl Streep is attached to play multiple roles, so we must write it as such. Or maybe every character has to be fruits and vegetables, because a fruits and vegetable lobby is... I'm not sure why. I didn't really think that one through, but whatever it is, it's our job to make it work.
With our assignment in hand, we now have exactly 1 hour to develop a feature film idea that fits the assigned criteria. But that's not all. There'll also be roadblocks along the way. 30 minutes into the episode, we'll receive a wildcard mandate from the studio, giving us yet another creative problem to solve.
At the end of the episode, we're forced to focus group with one of our talented filmmaker friends. We pitch our finished idea to the listener and ask them actual focus group questions, like how likely are you to see this movie, or how likely are you to recommend this movie to a friend?
And of course, they'll simply answer yes and cheer and applaud in their car on their way to work. And that's about it. You excited, Seth? We got another one.
Peasy. I am excited. So this is not our first one recording, but it might be our first one coming out. We haven't decided. Our show trailer came out today, and we are now worried that this podcast has to be good. So we're going to pick one of our favorites and make it the first episode, and then maybe it'll descend into madness from there. Who knows?
Of course, we write a script for a trailer and edit it and add fancy graphics, and everybody gets really excited. And then our actual show is made up on the spot. So, I mean, I guess we just cross our fingers and hope that we...
They're calling already?
I'm going to answer it. I'm assuming they're going to email us, but I'll go ahead and answer it anyway. Hello? Hey, studio, how's it going? Oh, okay, if that's what you want. All right. Okay, well, we're excited to get to work on it. Thank you. All right, catch you later. Bye.
They have emailed me. Okay.
They didn't inform me of the assignment on the phone for some reason, but they said they emailed it. I guess
they like to call to tell you that they sent an email, especially if it's bad news in the email. They'll call and say, "Hey, check your email. Can't wait to talk later." I'm studio. Refer to me as that. Which good thing you did. That's the rules. You always refer to the studio as "Hey, studio."
As studio.
So
what they give us?
The genre the studio has assigned us this week is Hallmark movie. We'll be writing a Hallmark movie today.
Here we go.
It needs to be lighthearted, so that's good. We're in the wheelhouse of Hallmark movie.
Here we go, baby.
Demographic: both men and women, age 25 to 39. So we're
right in there.
Right in there, yeah, right. Because Hallmark movies are for 25 to 39 years.
How old are you?
I am 25 to 39.
Okay, same.
I think I'm 37. I'm pretty sure. I actually have to ask my wife these days because I stopped.
You're so
being
old that
able
you,
to keep up with it. Not because I'm so old. I'm so stupid, and I have so many things in my brain.
Okay, what's our target audience?
They are insisting. Target audience, is men, women, age 25 to 39. The studio is insisting that our characters all be animals.
Interesting. For Hallmark.
For a Hallmark movie, yeah. Now, I don't know if that's coming from Hallmark, if it's coming from Lifetime, or if that's...
Netflix is actually making a lot of... Netflix is making a lot of Hallmark movies these days.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about a genre. It's a genre now. It's like Coca-Cola. It's like Coke. It's not necessarily Coca-Cola brand. It is. It's just referred to as Coke, even though it's soda. So Hallmark movies.
It's like it's Dr. Pepper and Dr. Thunder.
Is the timer going? We should probably start.
The timer is going. So
Dr. Thunder. What's Dr. Thunder? Now that the timer's going, let's talk about what Dr. Thunder is.
It's the Walmart version.
I thought that's Mr. Mr. Pibb is the Dr. Pepper. Dr. Thunder is the Walmart version.
I'm really surprised you don't know Dr. Thunder. Well, maybe it's because we... Anyways, let's get back into it. Hallmark movie.
I do know Walmart is where I would go to buy all my prop food. And in Real Gone, the short film that I did a few years back for Ryan Connolly, had a bag of chips in there. And I remember the brand was very funny to me. It was called something like Bag of Chips or like Mexican chips or something just incredibly... generic and slightly culturally insensitive.
Mexican chips. Oh,
Go check out Real Gone.
I actually remember that scene in the room.
Because Darren yells worst chips as he's tearing them apart. Anyway.
Okay, so animals. My first problem,
that throws me off.
Maybe we'll release this one day, but our first it's our second practice episode. We had animals as the main characters in a Homeward Bound-esque scenario. We wanted to do a low-budget movie with these animals as the stars because we got indie comedy. So Hallmark, immediately I just think low budget because they never have budgets for these films. They shoot them really fast.
They're pretty bodily too, aren't they? Like they keep them in bottle. That's bottle-y, not bodily. They're pretty. They keep them in like contained spaces. I've actually not watched very many of these. My wife has.
Same. I have friends that have worked on a ton, especially in the Carolinas. I feel like all the East Coast friends always work on these Hallmark movies.
Well, the other thing is we have to apply. God, we have to appeal to age to men too. That's
animals.
tricky.
And
with animals, the animals thing throws me off.
And it says all the main characters have to be animals.
It says should all be animals. Now, I could just omit that part and we could edit it out. No, we have to stick to this.
We got to stick to it, man.
And what's annoying because in the one you're talking about, the practice episode, we were not mandated to make it about animals. We just chose to. And in this one, we are.
And it was great.
Oh my God, I figured out what we do. I know exactly what to do. Now, did I say the characters should all be animals? Notice that does not say cast. So here's my thought. What if it's a story? What if it's a wish fulfillment story? Or if it's something like that to where the entire cast are animals turned to humans. So they're like...
Oh, man. That's it right there.
That's how we do it. So then we can actually cast it with people and... All right. But it has to be something where they're given like...
That's so good because Hallmark, I feel like one of the things Hallmark movies are known for is sort of this sort of cringe acting as well.
Yeah.
And with animals acting as humans, you have all this opportunity for these hilarious scenes where it's they don't really know how to act. And
this is this might be the most high concept Hallmark movie that I've heard of too.
Isn't there an I think our buddy Gunnar was telling me the other day about an X-Files episode where it's like a werewolf that's turned into a man, and it's like this. Have you seen this episode?
Yeah, that's Kumail Nanjiani's episode, I think, in one of the newer seasons.
Yeah. And he like doesn't know what to do as a human because he's an animal, and they think it's the inverse. That's really, really fun, and I think that's a great way to get around the mandate and still deliver something that will be a Hallmark movie budget and we could come up with. I wish that I would have watched more Hallmark movies. I don't, but for the specific episode, I do.
I know, me too.
I only think of like Christmas movies for some reason. Me
too. I actually, I had an idea for a Hallmark movie years ago. Well, as an experiment. So this is funny. I'm going to naturally talk about my product that sponsors this podcast, but it was right after the release of the Story Clock Workbook, And we have this great spread in the book that I promise this was not planned, guys, and we're not doing this every episode. But we added this extra spread in the Story Clock Workbook that has these areas to like whittle down your idea by medium and genre and characteristics and compared to similar stories. And as an experiment, I did one that was about I was like, what would a Hallmark movie? What would a Seth Worley Hallmark movie be? And it's not a good idea, but it was the idea of like a Christmas movie thing where like basically every Christmas movie scenario came true for each member of the family. But it was like plot device, but to compare to my own movie, but like plot device, but with Christmas movies. Anyway, that didn't help us at all. I thought if I walked down that trail, we might find some things to pick up and carry back.
No, but I think we both were drawn to Christmas movies, so why not make this a Christmas movie? I mean,
you know what? I mean, when else do people watch Hallmark movies? Like the majority of people, it's Christmas Hallmark movies. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the it's not our target audience, but I feel like the 60 plus probably watch Hallmark movies year round. I've got.
Do they? This is like the second time on this podcast we've chosen to speak for the 60 plus.
Well, I've got a great aunt who lives for these kind of movies. Like that's always.
Yeah, but I've got a
TV.
wife who lives for these kind of movies, and she's not 60 plus.
That's well, she fits our demographics, so that's great. But so Christmas.
I'm not worried about women 25 to 39. Like I feel like the fact that it's Hallmark movie. Now this is probably superficial to me, but I feel like because it's the brand that it is or the genre that it is, it's going. If we do our jobs right, it'll apply to that demographic. It'll appeal to. The trick now is how do we make it appeal to. And is it appealing in a marketing sense, or is it appealing in like a Star Trek 1 sense, where you drag your wife, not Star Trek 1, but JJ Star Trek 2009, where you drag your wife to it, and then after she's crying after the cold open of the movie.
Yeah. Well, this is lighthearted. I mean, I think the story, the general idea that you came up on the spot there with the animals turning to humans, that's already a lighthearted idea. We can maybe, is it a something that I feel like is common with the Hallmark movies is like the body swap kind of movies. What if it's like an animal human body swap?
Body swap with humans. That's fascinating. Okay. Then the characters are still all animals, even if they are originally humans and now animals and originally animals and now humans. I think that works.
Yeah. And there has to be some sort of if it's Christmas, I searched Hallmark movies, which a tradition of this podcast is Googling things to help you because
I wrote it in the Google search.
As writers, Google is your best friend. But the first thing that came up was the 10 worst Hallmark movie stories, and
let's pitch one of these.
Well, the first one that popped up, unfortunately, was called "Switched for Christmas." I have no idea what it is, but that gets me thinking why not body swap with an animal and a human?
Hallmark movies, they're almost all about love and romance, right? I mean, rarely are they about.
I assume so, yes, and family.
In family, but is there any family without romance? I'm sorry, not in real life. Obviously, no. There's no family without romance. But I mean, in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. Doubtful. I think I might be getting them confused with Lifetime too, because Lifetime is usually a little bit more serious. Like,
we're not talking Lifetime. Lifetime's like
I get them confused.
Yeah, Lifetime's like milk carton kids and
Crimes of Passion.
Widows, and angry widows. We're talking about
family romance. Yeah, I think I get it. I haven't watched barely any of these, but.
Well, but like, if you scroll to Hallmark movies, Hallmark Channel, once we get to like 2016, things start to get really holiday-ish, and it starts to be a lot. Like 2017, there start to be a lot. Christmas Joy, Road to Christmas. Themes in Hallmark movies. Small town, a failing business, jobs in the small town, a deceased spouse, discovering someone to love, a miracle that changes things, community, predictable ending. Okay, small town, that's a good thing to zero in on.
Dude, what if? Oh no, this is bad. Never mind.
Everyone in the town becomes animal. What?
I was just thinking of the concept of meet cutes and these rom-coms, and I'm like, dude, it's kind of disturbing to have like a man or woman falling in love with the person and they turn out to be an animal.
Yeah, you can't do that because there's no way.
Yeah, it's too far.
Because the end is going to be sad no matter what. Because we can't accept. We don't want. I mean, can the animal stay human for the rest of their life, or it's like, God, this is so hard because you don't. The people becoming animals, that part has a lesson to be learned. To where like, okay, now we'll be turned back into humans, and we'll learn how to be like. In order to become human, they must learn to be animals. Like that's a natural progression of the story.
Yeah.
But no one to learn how to be animals, they must first be human. That doesn't make sense.
That's very true. Well, what if it's about like the? I mean, I guess in this Hallmark movie scenario, we're probably not. I mean, we could start the movie with the animals, and it's sort of like that Homeward Bound, like we're hearing their thoughts. We're sort of in their head, like the voiceovers, like them talking to each other. We can kind of hear that.
Wow! So you're saying first act is Homeward Bound, and then they're people for the entire second act.
I'm throwing ideas out here.
No, I think it's so. It's actually a fantastic idea that I could also see. I could also immediately hear Paul Scheer and June Diane Raphael and Jason Mantzoukas talking about on how did this get made. Like I could hear them 100%. Recapping this.
But we're making Hallmark movies, you know. That's it's publicity, right?
They don't have to be good. They don't have to be good. It's a Hallmark movie. Oh my God. Okay.
But free pub, right? Okay, so. But imagine, they're there, and we kind of get to know them as animals first, so that when they're in the human bodies, they each have, we sort of know their archetypes, and we can sort of play. Did you see the Jumanji sequel with the one with
Awkwafina? I saw this. Is that the one with Awkwafina?
Yeah. The reboot, the first one.
I have not seen the first one all the way through. I saw the second half of the second one.
It's the same concept, but we have an opportunity.
Because someone was a horse and someone was,
Yeah. So you have the opportunity to have like the bulldog and like a little, or like a really tall, skinny guy, or like the really small dog in a big person's body. Like we can play with archetypes and, opposites and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think of dogs like they're, what we love about dogs or animals is like the whole man's best friend and like really loving their master or whatever, their human fathers and mothers. So I'm like, is there anything that they could learn there that is...
Well, okay. Playing with... That's actually interesting. What if two people fell in love, but their pets hated each other, right? That would cause a riff. That would cause
that's so good.
An issue.
Yeah,
and
that's
so then
classic
what if,
Hallmark.
And what's funny is if we did that, we don't have to do the Homeward Bound. I actually love the Homeward Bound idea, but I'm so don't hear me trying to throw it out. But we actually may not have to do it. That the first act is all about this couple that, we do like an Up kind of montage where we see them like first date, we see them dating for a while, whatever, and then they're going to move in together. Their animals like hate each other, and
no, that's great because when they can both switch into their pets, and now their pets have to like learn how to like each other. It could be it doesn't have to be romance. It could be like a friendship thing, or it could be a rom-com with the animals, and it's like they're in love. And they're in love. It's the perfect.
But or if not, like if they're not in love, like they're still like just being the friends thing. And you actually, there's a lot of comedic opportunity in having two actors who play humans for the first act, and then they have to play their animal, like their pets in spirit.
They're engaged, and the wedding's coming up.
Engaged, and the wedding's coming up.
You
freaking genius.
Because that's a ticking clock for us too, where they have to figure out how to switch back before the wedding.
So perfect. Okay, so two humans are engaged.
Oh man, this is so funny.
This is your classic two humans are engaged trope.
Well, we can start the movie. I don't know if Hallmark movies start with montages, but like the opening.
We got to fall in love with them. It's got to be like an Up montage.
Yes, they fall in love. We see them dating, and then it can end with the proposal, and then then we're into the story at that point.
And it's Hallmark, so we can be a little clean with it, like because I imagine the majority of like couples that, depending on your background, whatever, I think we both come from fairly conservative backgrounds, and so it's not weird for us. We know plenty of people, and possibly ourselves, who did not move in with our spouses.
Yeah, totally.
But before marriage, we live with them now.
I text her all the time.
but it's also like, I wonder, is it a common thing? Like, I feel like it would be weird for me to see a movie where two characters who are engaged are not already living together. Is that as weird in a Hallmark movie? Could we get away with?
I don't know.
We need that
I mean,
because we need that for the animals to first, be clashing at this unique moment. Like,
yeah, I think maybe it can start with them already, and like by the end of the montage, they live with each other, and it can almost be like an interesting turn of events where maybe we see the animals a little bit during the montage, but it's more about the humans. And then by the time we're like out of the montage, we see them at home, and the animals are already bickering at each other and already don't like each other. And it can just be like a side kind of thing until the switch happens, and that's when the animals really become like, we really get to know their.
Okay, that's great. So think of it as like your first act. You have the like up montage of it all, and you have them moving in together in that montage, and the animals are, and it's like, I guess there needs to be kind of a soft transition from montage into present day. So we still kind of blur that line between, like, basically I'm getting into like the proposal can be the inciting incident of the story. That can be the lightning strike that turns, like, that either starts a ticking clock or turns everything upside down. We're still telling it from the human's perspective, I think. Like, the animals are just kind of like, I think the animals become a very central concern of the humans, because, like, and that can be communicated to a best friend, like the best friend who comes over and is hanging out with our female lead, and they're like, and it's an observant, like, it makes an observation about, like, these, like, I don't know how we're gonna blah blah blah. Like, I'm not getting rid of so and so. He's not getting rid of so and so. Like, they don't get along, and there's hijinks there with, like, the animals not getting along, and they talk about it. By the way, that friend character then is our straight man to play off of when later on. That's
perfect. And they could either. I think it'd be great if they didn't know. It's your classic Freaky Friday that nobody really knows. Anybody switched, and it's just them thinking, oh, they're acting kind of odd.
Yeah.
And it's creating these. All these hijinks that are happening that you see in the trailer.
Now, what are the animals once they? So first off, we have to figure out how do they switch?
Oh yeah, we're ditching Christmas now, aren't we?
No, we don't have to. No.
Because I think Christmas, the great thing about Christmas is magic. For some reason, makes more sense. It 100% around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And so
could they be magic ornaments that do it somehow?
Oh, man. What if the dogs are fighting under the Christmas tree or something? Or they're like chasing each other?
Yes. And the ornaments fall and crash and release magic,
magic
chemicals
dust.
into the air, magic dust.
You went straight to chemicals. You went to
well, that's me science-izing it, but I mean, like, releasing magicness out of the ornaments.
Yeah, the magic dust falls out. The dogs are coughing, and they go to help the dogs. And
those ornaments, by the way, they have to be like ornaments they bought or were gifted. They're like ornaments that go together. They're like the turtle doves in Home Alone 2.
They went to Chinatown, and there was an old man selling.
Don't you dare bring gremlins into this! I will not have any of your gremlins nonsense.
No. I think
for those listeners of the podcast, it should be known and outward now that Seth Worley is not a fan of gremlins and never will be.
And Ryan wears a gremlin on his jacket about 90% of the time.
Yep.
But yeah,
Gremlins is your Twister.
They can. Hey, Twister's great too.
Yeah, Twister is everybody's Twister. You know why? Because it's good.
Twister.
And you know what's not good? Gremlins.
Ooh, let's move on. Let's move on.
No, this is what the listeners want. They want us to fight until we switch with our animals.
I'm about to flip my table over, Seth.
Podcast ends after episode 3 or whatever episode this is.
But yes, I think it could be given by gift, by maybe like an engagement gift or something. We see maybe at the end of the montage they have an engagement party, and Christmas is coming up, so they're like, "Hey, your first ornaments as a couple." I feel like my mom or someone has given to me like you guys can have a tradition of having ornaments every year. Maybe that's something like that is a natural way for them to be given these ornaments in a way that we could focus in on them and show these are important.
You know what? Actually, the ornaments need to be. That feels arbitrary. Whereas not to try and make this good or anything, but talking about Up, those
not to try to make this good or anything.
Yeah. The Ellie badge in Up, designed by our friend Paul Conrad, they like the grape soda and orange soda badges or whatever those are. The grape soda badge, at least, like that. That begins like day one of them, and I feel like these ornaments need to be day one, date one. For this couple.
So maybe their first date is around Christmas time. It's like Christmas is sort of a.
Oh yeah, and our montage is just that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be. That's actually nice. I like it. And Hallmark, it doesn't need to be this real. Like, I feel like realistically in a Hallmark movie, people would get engaged within a year of dating.
Yeah.
That makes total sense because they're in love. So yeah, what if their first date? We open on their first date and they're going. Of course, this isn't like a small town. There's a really cute town square with lights hanging everywhere, like every Hallmark movie.
Yep.
It's what was that Gilmore Girls town?
Stars Hollow. That's what we're looking at. Is basically Stars Hollow.
That kind of thing. And they give each other these ornaments. They just
do they give each other or like? Yeah, I guess they've got to find them on the date, or it's some kind of like.
The thing is though, the magic. I mean, we should make it explainable, but at the same time, this magic in this real life scenario,
it needs a weird source. Like the ornaments need to come from a strange source, a culturally problematic source, like Chinatown.
Well, we're writing this still. Let's
see. What could
let's see. Weird antique stores.
There's a traveling salesman like thing, like a truck or a.
They buy it out of a random dude's truck that is screaming at people.
Well, you want is there like a Christmas? This gets expensive, but like a Christmas fair going on, like Christmas. Are Christmas fairs a thing?
We do a Christmas tree lighting here in Denton, Texas every year. Like the whole town goes to our square, and there's like everybody has like cider that they wassail that they pass out and stuff. It's definitely a thing.
Okay. Could there be like what was the name of the? Oh no! Really?
Oh, no.
What was the name of the machine in Big before you pick up?
What was that? It had the guy. Yeah. I got to pick up. Studio's calling here.
Zoltar.
Oh yes. Hi. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll let Seth know to check. Okay. All right. Bye.
They emailed me again?
They emailed you. They're just kind of shooting the shit there. Don't really know what that was, but they emailed you a wild card mandate. So
they did, and I'm opening it now.
Oh man, the suspense is killing me, Seth. What'd they say?
So they actually want it to be set at Valentine's Day. Apparently there is an opening. Yeah. Apparently there's a big Valentine's. They're pivoting. Whoever this is that's distributing it are pivoting to trying to like. There's a market opening with Valentine's Day release, and so they're trying.
What
to
are
corner...
the chances?
Yeah.
What are the chances they give us a date and the studio mandate that the film has to be set?
Right?
That's like too perfect. It seems suspicious, but
it does seem suspicious. No, it's not suspicious. That literally is what came first. And
in their email, Seth, right?
In their email,
not on your iPhone.
Recording aside, I got it and was like, I don't like that one. Sometimes I do that over here. Don't tell anybody.
Okay, well, that it kind of affects it, but I mean, we were just on this freaking Christmas fair thing, but it can be Valentine's. We could still do 1 year, and it still feels like sort of a magic holiday, and it definitely still feels Hallmark. Valentine's Day.
And it's okay if there is Christmas in it. It just needs to be primarily about Valentine's Day, which, by the way, is such a bogus... It's a visually boring holiday. It's like...
Yeah, and the ornaments is what sucks. So, hey, the dogs get into the Valentine's chocolate.
And die? Pretty confident that's not good for dogs.
Okay, so Hallmark...
Because they could swap bodies with their owners.
Valentines, Hallmark movies. We got My Secret Valentine.
Valentine's candles. Valentine's...
Jewelry. Maybe there's a magical jewelry that is broken. Or...
No one likes magical jewelry. Everyone knows that.
Hey, no bad ideas, right, Seth?
There are no bad ideas except magical jewelry. That's
and gremlins.
And gremlins as a whole. Jumping in here real quick to tell you all about the Story Clock Workbook from Plot Devices. The Story Clock Workbook was built for getting your story ideas out of your head alive. Okay, here's the actual deal with this ad. Most people, myself included, try to skip these little mid-roll sponsor breaks by hitting that skip ahead 30 seconds button that's built into most podcast apps, but you didn't. You said to yourself, Chrissy, don't hit that skip button. Seth Worley is talking, and you respect him. And I heard you, Chrissy. That's why I'm going to reward it with a secret code to get 25% off your first order of the Story Clock Workbook. Just enter code Thanks Chrissy, THANKSCHRISSY, at checkout. Now remember, this code is just for you and not for those other people who skipped ahead to this moment right here. Learn more about how you can use the Story Clock Workbook to develop your story ideas at plotdevices.co. Thanks, Chrissy. I mean, everyone.
Well, let's keep going. Maybe we can figure out. We should probably figure out just a general story, and as we think of that, we can be thinking of the device that gets us there.
Great. So the ticking clock is the wedding, and that's what's going to be ruined by them being dogs. Oh, I was going to ask, what are our animals doing? Like, are we checking in with our? I feel like
they got to be doing. The fun thing about this is they can sort of be trying to the dogs can maybe see like, oh, this is actually really hard to communicate with ourselves because like when they're in their bodies they think it's easy, but they can't understand like I
unpack that.
Okay, so you to Lorraine you would say like sit or lay down or like come here.
Yes, and she would ignore me, but definitely.
But and they would bark and stuff. The interesting thing to me is they suddenly have this this English ability, and they can say all these things, and they can't understand. Like, they're realizing, like, oh, this is a pretty simple thing. Like, we tell them what to do, and then they do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There can maybe be some comedy built into them suddenly having some power, or like feeling like they have some power over their dogs, and like, oh, I guess I'll just leave now, and they just stay at the house.
Okay, so they're able to talk. They're just not able to they have. It's almost like they know how to operate the machine, but they don't know any of the social politics of like how to properly operate a machine in the context of the rest of the world.
Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't really work if they like didn't know how to speak at all. I feel like it's like they know general language, but maybe not how to use it, and in the correct way, or like they walk kind of funny, or they like there's just something a little odd about them. Like I feel like,
and then the animals. I really want to avoid the Homeward Bound thing.
Yeah, especially we've already done it in that practice episode. So
we have. So the funny thing is that the animals then would be trying to, like ratatouille them to a certain degree, like even if that just means barking and biting to like keep them from doing. And but like I like the idea of not giving the audience a way to hear or understand specifically what the animals want or are trying to do. Oh, it's actually really funny to have our characters like having to figure out what the animals are trying to tell them, like.
Totally. Yes.
So like it's like
they're barking and they're pointing at a
now I understand why they don't. This is a dumb joke, but like now it's the kind of thing goes in the trailer. Like now I understand why they don't ever do what we want them to do. Like now I understand why they never understand what we're saying.
Totally.
Okay.
Okay. So I mean the physics of that, the in the movie world, all of that makes sense. I think that's
we've got our logic and our rules.
That's great.
Our conflict is our first half of Act 2, our fun and games like section. That's going to be all like interacting with the friend who needs to come in So let's cut it into two sequences. First half of Act 2. I'm trying to get better at just saying Act 1, 2, and 3 and just referring to first halves. So first half of Act 2. We haven't specified it before. I like to cut up acts into sequences, and so it's 8 sequences across the movie.
I like that.
And
you want to do 4 acts, 3 acts?
I like to think of it as 4 acts, but I'm going to say 3 acts because that's the more general vernacular that everyone understands and talks in. And I forget to I go back and forth regularly and don't specify.
In the last thing we recorded, we jumped back and forth between 3 act and 4 act.
We did, and we might need to record a prologue at some point. It says so. And by the way, for anyone listening, I do want to specify this is a specific. I learned this sequence approach from a book called The Sequence Approach, and it is.
Who's that by?
You can pause the timer if you want to teach. The Sequence Approach by Frank Daniel, or I think it's by Paul Joseph Giulino. Originally developed by Frank Daniel, who was it might be switched there, but a USC teacher. Really great book. All about a typical 2-hour film is composed of sequences that are 8 to 15 minute segments that have their own internal structure. In effect, they're shorter films, but inside the larger film. So Act 1 is 2 sequences, Act 2 is 4 sequences, and Act 3 is 2 sequences. And so, sorry, real quick, where I was going was I think that our friend, if this helps us parameters, I think our friend should not re-enter the story. Our friend, we establish her in the first act, but then she should enter the story in the second sequence of Act 2. I think that she should mark now we're in the sequence where we're dealing with friends in the outside world, right before things get real, and we get to have fun with those hijinks. So anyway, you're talking about the break into the,
Yes, I think that has to be, I think we should still do an engagement party, and maybe the switch happens at the engagement party, possibly. Because that gives us sort of a time parameter. We know that the wedding is coming up. Our montage has happened in the very beginning, and the switch, the Christmas tree ornament thing we got to change, but the switch happens there at the engagement party, either during it to create sort of a weird. They start acting weird while everybody's there at their house, kind of thing, or maybe after it, and it's they wake up the next morning and
this is when you said this is in sequence C.
Yeah, I think it would be the start of that, right?
That feels like a real high stakes moment, though, of them ruining, immediately exposing them to all their friends.
Maybe it doesn't switch until the next morning when they wake up, and it's the classic wake up and everything's different moment.
As I feel everything's different. You want them to interact with this is not really the mailman, and to interact with the people that
the milkman.
Yeah, the milk. I literally was going to say milkman, but the people that you interact we saw them interact with on a day-to-day basis. The people who are acquaintances but not friends, and then I think sequence D is all about establishing the friend. And which also this brings up a greater question is, do our animals want to go back? Clearly do our main characters want to go back to being animals? Probably not. They probably love being humans, and that's what these first 2 sequences are.
Yeah.
And then
I think humans definitely want to go back.
I think sequence E, which is the midpoint starts, and then that sequence there is about. That should be their engagement. That should be a rehearsal dinner or an engagement. That should be a party where they're exposed to a lot of people, where families coming into town, and they've got to screw something up. And then sequence F would be about them. By the way, you can disagree with any of this. I'm just kind of
no. I just want to hear you first.
Sequence F would be then that's usually when you're all is lost stuff.
So I think at some point, for me, what's interesting is that the animals, at first, they're loving being in the human body, and I think they start to realize that it's harder being a human than they thought it was going to be. Maybe the pressures of that's on just playing up some of the differences between their life as an animal and a human, and they start to really want to switch back, and so it's both the animals and the humans wanting to. Switchback. I'm seeing you write this gag and I'm laughing.
I typed eating dog food. I just like them sitting around watching a movie and eating kibble.
Yes, that's so freaking funny.
By the way, I'm definitely imagining Good Place. What's her name? Even though I don't think she does Hallmark
the main
movies.
character, Kristen.
Kristen.
What's her name? Good Place girl.
Oh, I don't want to say that we Googled Good Place girl because we should know what her name is. She's wonderful and amazing.
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell.
It
the easiest Kristen to remember besides Wig.
Yes.
Even easier than Wig to remember. Okay.
Yes, but that is a great. And I put in here, it's Hallmark, so I feel like we need really classic dog names. I put Charlie and Sophie.
Yeah, those are great. I like those.
Those seem classic to me. We don't have human names yet, but those can be what we call our dogs that are now.
Those
humans.
are what our animals are named, not what our main characters are. Humans are named, right?
Yes.
That's so funny because then you'd be like, refer to Sophie or Charlie, and that's where the friend can figure out, like, hang on, what's going on?
Yeah, they call each other by their dog names.
Man, I haven't ever story clocked Big, so I don't really not super familiar with its structure, but I know that it's like.
Would you hate me if I said I've never seen Big?
No, I get really excited. I get excited when people haven't. I get mad if people have no interest in watching it. You need to go watch Big tonight.
I would love to watch it. Yeah,
dude, it's wonderful. I would hate you if you said I don't really need to see Big, because actually I think all of America would hate you if you said I don't need to see Big.
It's just Tom Hanks, right?
Just Tom Hanks playing all the roles. That's what's so incredible. He was like just proving himself from day one.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think that's really interesting, and I think they have to maybe at the all is lost moment is when they something's got to happen where they're like, we got to get back to our bodies, and like this is maybe we just figured out how to do it, and now we can't.
It's like it's fun for the first half of Act 2, and then it's not fun in the second half of Act 2. And I think that's what it is. And second half of Act 2 is like, so like in Big, I have a feeling around the midpoint of Big, he decides, no, spoiler alert, buddy, I'm sorry, but you can figure it out. Around up until the midpoint, he's like killing it being an adult and having a blast. He's like killing it at his job because he's got this childlike wonder thing going on, and then meanwhile his best friend is like hanging out with him in the city and stuff. But then by the midpoint, he and his best friend, like he's like taking on a lot of adult responsibilities. He's hanging out with this girl more often, and this young woman more often, and he doesn't have time for his friend. And that's what the I think sequence E is. That first sequence after the midpoint is like I'm actually committing to my new role, and I'm having to like say goodbye to the old world a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I should talk to you about this other story structure thing. The sequence after that, then the all is lost kind of sequence that's the one where they decide in that sequence they don't like this anymore. They don't like this deal. They want to go back to the way things were. And they can't. So
we really got to figure out our device and how we're going to get out of that to sort of.
Well, what he does is he goes, it's the machine in Big, and then he goes back to the carnival and it's not there.
Yeah, Zoltar, right? It's the guy in the box.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't remember what makes him turn back. He just decides to go home, and...
It's more of an internal thing?
I think so. He decides to go home and leave, and he just turns back into a kid. I don't think they ever explain... How does he... Oh, man. So, can you look up how he turned... I know you've not seen it, but I just don't remember...
Sorry, while you've been talking, I've been trying to think of a title for this movie using wedding puns.
That's okay. I was actually going to also say I should real quick maybe talk about, you want to pause the timer again real quick for education. Education break.
Countdown paused. 10 minutes remaining.
What? We're doomed.
Dude. Finish this. But we've paused it. Let's educate ourselves.
We have enough to kind of pitch like the overall promise of this premise.
I think, we can get a little further, but yeah.
So there's this concept by a writer named Kim Hudson who developed this thing called The Virgin's Promise. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
So The Virgin's Promise is all about...
Sounds like something I would have read in youth group.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? We all made The Virgin's Promise at some point in our life. Essentially, and it's a very good observation, which is that like Joseph Campbell's hero's journey is a male-centric storytelling paradigm. And that there are I mean, essentially it opens up this it opens up this door. Thinking this way opens up the door to so many other paradigms of storytelling, and not just thinking within the Joseph Campbellian thing. But hers, breaks down like a lot of romantic comedies. Legally Blonde is a good example of a movie that really follows this premise very well, which is the steps are dependent world, price of conformity, opportunity to shine, dress the part, secret world, no longer fits her world, caught shining, gives up what kept her stuck, kingdom in chaos, wanders in the wilderness, chooses her light, the reordering, and the kingdom is brighter. Not that we need to dive into this necessarily for this episode, but I think it's definitely something that we should. It was a good opportunity to bring it up for listeners to explore themselves.
Totally.
It's a very, very cool
from,
paradigm.
What's that from, Seth?
It's called The Virgin's Promise by Kim Hudson. I believe is the name of the book she wrote about it.
Okay, we'll have to put some of these links to these things in the show notes. But yeah, I mean that's awesome. Should we restart this timer? We have so much power on.
I know. Let's restart the timer and let's actually break down our sequences real quick based on what we talked about.
Okay, resuming timer. Here we go.
Countdown resumed.
All right. Sequence A is about is like our up montage.
Yep. Up montage.
Like let's see. It starts with our meet cute, which I think that getting specific on how they meet will actually help us determine what a lot of the specifics of our story and like what our magic is and like what our characters need to understand or learn toward the end. Meet cute, up montage. It should end with a proposal.
100%. And the dogs are there.
The dogs, it almost needs to all be told from the dog's perspective. Like,
not necessarily point of view, but they're like, I'm talking like shot wise, but yeah, I agree.
We need to track with them the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it makes sense. It's about the animals. So meet cute at the dog park, maybe. And they're,
you know what? Yeah, let's actually get even more like specific here. Like our main character should be the female lead here. It should be like Kristen Bell that we're talking about. And so the meet cute is kind of from her perspective. She comes home and her dog, like she comes home. We see her life with her dog.
Let's just call her Kristen.
We'll call her Kristen
for the ease of the pitch. Yeah.
And it's almost, and then we're seeing it from Kristen and from Kristen's dog's perspective, which is Sophie from Sophie's perspective, and then like the big like inciting incident is when they move in together and suddenly twist, dude has a dog, and we meet Charlie. So we don't actually bring Charlie into the story until that inciting incident.
I like that.
Sequence B is about the animals not getting along, like clearly not getting along, and the whole Sequence B is about the comedy of the animals not getting along whatsoever. And like the fears. Oh man. Okay. There's got to be some fears that our main characters have about committing to. They can like, so our humans can mirror our dogs. Our dogs are just externalizing this inability to get along or inability to live together in a way that the humans are more internalizing and have fears about it.
Well, let's go back to Hallmark because we got to make these Hallmark movies. So, like when you think about Hallmark movies, it's hard because I'm leaning on you a little bit because I know neither of us have seen a lot of these, but in Hallmark movies, is it common for people to have sort of baggage coming from like other relationships or
yes?
Because that seems
100%. There's a crappy old boyfriend in the world.
It seems like the guy, maybe the guy is divorced or because that to me reads Hallmark for some reason.
And if Charlie hates that woman, like Charlie is terrified of that woman, so there's like a more visceral response to that woman when she shows up, like at some point in the story.
Yes. Okay, well, hey, we have 4 minutes left, so let's keep going through it. So, so Charlie, very timid and protective of his owner, dude, whatever we want to call him.
Guy. Let's call him Guy, like Guy Patterson from The Thing You Do. His name's Guy.
And then Sophie, I'm trying to think for Kristen and Sophie, something we can mirror for Sophie as her dog. Dude, you know what's so funny is if once they switch bodies with their owners and they're in the owner's body, how they like can't stop talking about their owner and how much they love them.
That's funny. That's
going on
really
and on.
Good. Yeah.
Like bragging on their owners, but they're in the bodies, so it just seems like they're bragging about themselves.
Oh, that's
they
so
love
good.
Themselves. But that's just another little gag once they switch bodies.
Also, another gag is they should talk to another animal who is an animal, like an animal friend of theirs in the neighborhood. Like that, they should try to communicate with that animal, even though there's no way to do that.
And there's no way the dog knows that they're in the body.
Yeah.
But maybe oh, how funny would it be if the owners in the dog's bodies communicated with that dog to let them know that they switched bodies, and the dog looks up to the humans like confused. And
it's actually real funny if there's just a long period of like bark, 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 and there's a long pause and be like, okay, I think we're good. Like you know, I think we're good. Like proceed as planned. We need everybody to work together. Like we need. Oh man, it's like we need our animals. Our animals clearly fall in love, or like learn to work together and get along.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They gotta fall in love. It's Hallmark. They're gonna fall in love as humans.
Yeah.
And that's going to bring the humans together even more as they observe, because they're observing the whole story and taking in their emotional like stuff in the same way that they did the other way around.
Yeah, I love that. And so now all we need is 2 minutes left. All we need is that device. It's Valentine's Day. Or it's going to play on Valentine's Day. It doesn't need to be around Valentine's Day. We just need to be romantic, which it is.
Wait. What if the dog loves the ex-wife? Bring the ex-wife back into the story.
Baby, yes.
The ex-wife comes back into the story, and so then she and the dog just loves that ex-wife because that ex-wife either rehumanize her and make her a great person, or she just always fed the dog treats, even though he would not get them because he's a human now.
Oh, how funny is it? She gives the dog treats, and the ex-husband has to pick him up and do something with them. Like, and she's like hugging on him, and Kristen in the dog body, it's like looking over at him, like, you really gonna let her cuddle you like that?
Yeah.
We're getting married in a week.
The dog is like, get away from me, and he's like, how you been? How's it going? Hug me.
Yes. I love that.
What can we do with this limited amount of time? Do we have to?
I know. Maybe because I don't want to just explain it away like magic, but at this point we kind of have to. I think we
we can say in the pitch, like, we haven't figured this quite yet. We were thinking originally it'd be something like Christmas ornaments. Let's just decide now what are they for Valentine's Day, so we can at least pitch something specific.
Yes. So jewelry's out, obviously. Chocolate's out because of dogs. A teddy bear, maybe, or like a stuffed dog, because they're switching bodies with dogs. Maybe it's a
bath bomb.
A bath bomb, and they're taking a bath together, and the dogs jump in.
Oh my gosh! Oh
and
man!
They all switch.
So like, it's got to be something they all breathe together, or that they all like, share. Like, that's why the magic inside of an ornament was something.
Time to pitch your movie.
That is our time to go to focus group pitch. Seth, I think we're going to need to pitch this. I'm excited. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
It did.
I'm really wishing we would have done Christmas, but you got to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yay! We can.
Hey!
Today on our show, we have the wonderful, the fantastic writer-director Gunnar Willis, who is an actor. He's a director. He's got an upcoming movie called Wages of Sin that's going to be coming out. And then he's also acted in a movie called Body Swap, which is available on Amazon Prime that you have to search immediately. It is a masterpiece, and I'm pretty sure it's Academy Award nominated. If not, I don't know what they're
Are
thinking.
you allowed to say all this stuff? Like, or what if the people who made it listen to this?
I hope they do.
Yeah. The funny thing is there might be one person that watches this and actually goes and looks out Body Swap. I think it's one of those movies that I feel like once you even just see the cover art, you'll know the type of movie you're getting into. But if not, you should have learned real quick. But
well, it's a very relevant. It's a very relevant movie. Part of why I wanted to mention it was because we've got a really interesting movie to pitch for you today, Gunnar. And I'll get right into it. We're not going to mention the assignment. We want to go in. Just with we want to hear your thoughts on our pitch. So,
cool. I'm ready.
I wonder, should we mention the genre a little bit just because it is in a specific market of films that we're going to be competing in?
That's probably a good idea.
Well, this is intended to be it's a straight to video, straight to VOD holiday film. I mean, many would say Hallmark movie in the same way that you would call soda Coke, if that makes sense. Like,
I've worked on a few of those before. I know the brand.
So yeah, we'll give you that. We don't normally give out the genre to people, but I think it is important to specify the market for this one because it's a market as well as a genre, right?
Copy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Untitled. We're still working on a title. I think we can come up with something fun, but our movie is about an adorable couple named Kristen and Guy. And we start our movie with a little meet
It sounds like we didn't think of the name.
Kristen and Guy. Our movie starts with, of course, a meet cute. They're at the dog park. Kristen has her dog named Sophie, and she falls for Guy, and we meet his dog named Charlie. From our meet cute, we actually go into a beautiful up-style montage, seeing their entire dating relationship. They're going on these dates. They're having these funny situations. They're falling for each other. Meanwhile, their dogs, we're kind of seeing it through the dogs' perspectives. The dogs don't really get along with each other too much. It actually kind of stresses out Kristen and Guy a little bit that they get along so well, but their dogs seem to not like each other. And nearing the end of our upstyle montage, Guy gets on one knee. Actually, I think Guy uses Charlie to bring the ring to him so that he can get on one knee and propose to Kristen. She says yes, of course. Now
that was nice. I feel like it's a podcast. I should actually say to you when you improvised an idea in front of our person pitching, I should tell you that was really nice.
That, of course, sets our story in motion now that we have a ticking clock with the wedding coming up in only a few months. They've got to plan this wedding and get married. So,
and they're getting married on Valentine's Day. That's important to specify.
Very important to specify.
It's a corny idea, but
we want
they're
a
doing it
Valentine's
partly.
Day. We want a Valentine's Day audience because that's when the studio wants to premiere the film.
Yeah. So there's apparently a market of those kind of holiday films that are coming this year, and we're trying to compete within that. So, important part of their first date is that they decided to kind of buy them. Their first date was on Valentine's Day, which is probably why they're getting married on Valentine's Day. I just decided right here telling you. And
that's a good pivot.
And we ran out of time on this.
Great job.
They're and part of their Valentine's date, their very first one, is that they bought, as a joke to kind of take the pressure off, they went to like Walgreens or CVS or something and bought each other some cheesy Valentine's Day. Not Walgreens, sorry. It was at this Valentine's Day like festival event. It's a Hallmark movie, so they live in Stars Hollow, essentially, right? They're always on the Warner Brothers back lot or wherever you're shooting it in like Atlanta or something.
Texas.
And so they bought themselves these like Valentine's Day. They're not ornaments. They don't really know what they are, like what to do with them. They're like these objects or items that maybe you hang them from. They joke about like, do we hang them from like our rear view mirrors? Like, do we hang them from a Valentine's Day tree? Like, what exactly are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Great work, Seth.
Yeah.
And so they, these ornaments, the idea is that like around our like, not inside, but around our break into Act 2, these ornaments would get knocked off by...
The ornaments are not what they seem.
Yeah, they're knocked off the wherever they are by the animals, and they break. And when they break, they dispense some kind of magical spell of something that causes the humans and the dogs to wake up having swapped bodies. Basically, Kristen becomes her dog. So like Kristen and Sophie, her dog, switch.
And Guy and Charlie
switch. So now our main characters that we're following are like these humans that are actually their dogs, like what in their bodies. Like, and we decided that they know how to talk, like they know how to operate the machine. They just don't know any of the politics of operating the machine within the context of a larger world and within society. So all they want to do is eat kibble. You know, they emotionally react to things the same way dogs would react to things. They despise each other the same way that they despise each other as dogs. Mm-hmm. But they know how to talk, obviously, and they know how to like interact and such. So,
meanwhile, Kristen and Guy are trapped in the dogs' bodies, Charlie and Sophie, and they immediately realize how hard it is to communicate as dogs. They're watching their humans. They can understand what they're saying.
And again, we're always telling a story from the human perspective, like whoever is human at the time, it's from their perspective. So like we don't ever get like the homeward bound treatment of understanding what, you know, what Kristen and Guy are thinking or feeling. It's all from the perspective of now human Charlie and Sophie having to like try and understand what their dogs are barking at them and what their dogs want. And they're like, God, it really is hard to understand us. I had no idea, that kind of a thing. And so now, unfortunately, we're on this wedding week, and our humans are their dogs. And the idea is that we'll spend like the first half of Act 2 really focusing on the comic opportunities here of them interacting with people in society.
And the thing is, Charlie and Sophie at first love being humans. They're like, oh, this is awesome. I can leave the house. I can go do stuff. Mm-hmm. The dogs are, you know, of course, at home. They're like, oh, this is awesome. We get to, you know, really live life to the fullest. But then over time, they start to really miss being a dog and start to realize how much pressure is on their humans to you know, work jobs and plan this wedding and all this stuff. And they really love their humans. You know, immediately when they go into their humans' bodies, they start to like brag on their humans. They're like, "Oh, I love so and so. I love them so much." And like
to a weird sycophantic degree, to where like it looks like they're bragging about themselves because they're just constantly accidentally catching themselves.
Think of like Kevin. Just like think of like Kevin and Up, like the things that he thinks about. Like at the start, that's kind of like how they act until they have to try to fake being a human. And you of course have Kristen has a best friend who for some reason I am imagining being what's the guy Billy on the Street, Billy Eichner, for some reason the best friend character. Yeah. We've already done it once.
This is our second time we've cast Billy Eichner in our stories.
It just feels right though.
It feels very right in this story. I'm 100% I'm always on board for Billy Eichner.
Best friend character named or played by Billy Eichner is like, there's something odd going on, and he's, you know, trying to figure it out. That's sort of a B, C story. But anyways, sort of around our midpoint, they start to, you know, realize, oh, this is kind of tough, and they want to switch bodies as well.
And that's actually around the point of I think we talked about a wedding rehearsal dinner or wedding rehearsal as well. All families all coming into town, so stuff is like shit's really hitting the fan. But also, I believe around this time is when Guy's ex-wife shows up. And the thing about Guy's ex-wife is that Charlie the dog,
she loves Charlie,
loved the ex-wife, and the ex-wife loved Charlie the dog. Yeah. So now it appears as if Guy, our human, is in love, like restraining himself from, being in love with this ex-wife who's now entered the picture. And and here's the thing. We're not sure exactly what we're barreling toward. We're barreling toward this wedding, and we know we need to get it. Our goal here is to these are all the pieces that we're toying with and experimenting with, and we think that are going to play a role in this larger story. That in the story, and Ryan, you jump in and stop me if I'm wrong here, but the themes of the story, you know how our dogs, they emotionally they kind of emotionally observe and absorb our emotions and like what's going on in our lives, and so they're able to perceive and like observe. Like they seem to get sad when we're sad, and they seem to intuit what's going on. And the idea here is to parallel. Essentially show that like these animals that this couple that is worried that their animals won't get along when they're moving in together, that's actually just an externalization of their internal fears of commitment and moving in together, and the fears that their relationship is not going to work out. That springs from, guy was divorced before meeting Kristen. And so like, you see me looking down at the character names consistently.
Guy's easy to remember.
I know. I'm looking at Guy. So the idea is to actually reconcile these internal fears. Those too. Yeah, these internal fears that the humans are having is to actually confront them and play them out. Like have our dog characters in the human bodies confront those fears and play them out. And our human characters are our dogs the whole time, just observing this, so that when they do switch back in the end, they've learned a lesson by watching their dogs like figure this shit out for them, essentially.
And of course, we end with with Charlie and Sophie learning to not only like each other, but they almost have sort of they're in love as dogs, cuddling with each other and stuff. And we have the wedding where Kristen and Guy are in their disheveled clothing that the dogs attempted to put on. Now they're switched back to their normal bodies. They have of course, a beautiful wedding ceremony with the dogs right next to them up there on the altar, and we
didn't talk about this at all. But what if maybe there's like an attempted switchback that like they have some plan to be able to switch them back, and it's foiled by accident by the ex-wife, and they accidentally we talked about there being another dog in the neighborhood, some stray dog that they get to know that is like that doesn't ever become a human, so like them as humans are talking to this dog throughout the story and like getting information from it, or like trying to get it to do tasks for them. What if by accident the ex-wife and the stray dog swap bodies, and so then this ex-wife comes and tries to sabotages the wedding as a dog, and so you have like this like dog fight between these two humans that are secretly dogs and this dog that is secretly a human.
That's beautiful, Seth. Great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We definitely talked about that before the pitch.
Definitely. We're riffing. We're riffing here. So,
anyways, that's sort of the gist of our movie.
It's a love story. It's a love story about
truly.
Two humans that plays out through their dogs as them, and in turn, like it's about a love story between. It's about two people who fall in love or their dogs don't get along, and then it's about these dogs learning to love each other, and therefore the humans learning to love each other as well.
And therefore the animals are the main characters.
Yes, and therefore we meet our criteria. So, Gunnar, we have two very important questions for you.
Okay.
Question one.
Would you see this movie?
Absolutely, I would. Absolutely, I would. It's a little embarrassing to say because it's like movies where adults switch bodies with animals.
They happen all the time.
Yeah, and it's pretty exclusively a kids genre, but I love it. Like I definitely, I probably watched that really bad Shaggy Dog movie more than I should have.
The Tim Allen one or the
I forgot
the old
about
one?
that movie.
No, the Tim Allen one, the one that's like not revered by anybody. I grew up on that, so I feel like I definitely would. I'd absolutely watch this movie.
Well,
Yes.
second
I
question.
don't have any. Yeah. Second question.
Would you recommend this movie to a friend? You know, you've heard this question before.
Oh man, would I? Yeah, I think. I mean, like, I probably would watch it with friends. This feels
Okay.
like, yeah. I think that's what I.
Does this feel like a movie you would roast with friends?
I would know. I don't. I mean, like, I guess I mean, it could be, if it was bad. But I think from what you guys pitched, I think it would just be like a good group movie. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what? Even if it's a roast movie, it's a Hallmark movie. So, I think those are made for experience them how you want to experience them.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there's my stepmom loves Hallmark movies, and she watches them just straight. You know what I mean? Like there's not she thinks those are the best movies in the world. And then I definitely know people who watch Hallmark movies not thinking that, but still enjoy them just as much.
Would you say that the demographic of 25 to 39-year-old male and females enjoy this kind of movie?
Did we overlap both? Do you think we appeal to both? Maybe not in a marketing sense, but in a once you've seen it sense.
Oh, once you've seen it, I think, yeah. I mean, because you speak to a lot of the It's really funny that I'm starting to say this stuff because it's still a movie about switching bodies with dogs. But definitely appeal to a lot of the fears and anxieties of everyone in that age. You know what I mean? So it's it's a movie about hey, these people are dogs now, but really it's a movie hey, this part of your life is scary. You gotta it's no longer small decision time. You know what I mean? This is rest of your life stuff.
Yeah, this is the movie that people are going to watch and really think about their life and make some changes.
We are definitely pulling that quote for our Instagram share with the transition. I mean, sure, it's a movie about people who turn into dogs, but also it's just such a good lead.
Oh man, yeah, I know. I mean it, man. It's I don't know. You make this movie, and there's going to be some guy, at least one. There's going to be at least one guy that is on the fence about moving in with the girl he loves, and he's going to go, you know what?
Those dogs did it.
That dog did it. And it turned out pretty well for them. I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Okay, I think we definitely have won this episode.
God, we need to call Gunner
Writers'
every
Room Game
time.
Show. Wow. I'm blown away by that response. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling.
Man, if you haven't figured it out yet, our genre we were given was Hallmark movies. Our tone was lighthearted. Our target audience was men and women aged 25 to 39. And our initial studio mandate was that the cast should all be animals. Characters, not cast. The characters should all be animals.
The main characters, yes.
Oh, the main characters. Okay.
Well, it didn't say main, but we just decided so. Okay. And the wild card studio mandate we got halfway through was that it needs to be a Valentine's Day film. So we were developing it as a Christmas film.
Yeah, it was. We originally thought of it as a Christmas movie, and it was going to be. Their first date was around Christmas. They had these ornaments, and then there's going to be magic dust that came off the ornaments.
Well, speaking from a heart, if it was a Christmas movie, there's so much more competition you have. Because I mean, everyone there's 100 Hallmark Christmas movies.
There's only about 10 Valentines.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you.
We're experts now.
I was gonna say I can't name one Valentine's Day Hallmark movie, but if I'm being honest, I can't name one Christmas Hallmark. I can't name any Hallmark movie. So that's not really useful, but.
Well, okay, but you can't name any of them, but you like this, so that did help. That helps us tremendously.
Yeah, I will say of the ones that I've worked on that are Hallmark-like, I wish I worked on this one.
I love that.
The Writers' Room Game Show with Seth Worley and me, Ryan Polly. Executive produced by Grant Wakefield at Weekend Video and Ann Fogerty at Plot Devices. Our art is by the incomparable Meg Lewis, and our incredible music is by Ben Worley. The Writers' Room Game Show is a Weekend Video production in association with Plot Devices. Learn more about Weekend Video at weekend.video And don't forget to check out writersroomgame.show to listen to all of our episodes and keep in touch. See you on the next one.
This episode of the Writers Room Game Show is sponsored by Plot Devices. It's also over. This is the end. All that's left of this is a post-roll ad from Plot Devices, creators of the Story Clock Workbook. Did you know that over 84% of podcasts end with sponsor ads like this? I had no idea. Mostly because I just made that number up. If you like to make stuff up, the Story Clock Workbook is for you. It's built for taking your cool story ideas and whittling them down into actual stories. The kind of stories you can tell over a campfire to your adolescent friends as a submission for their approval after throwing a mysterious and seemingly flammable powder into the fire with no sign of adult supervision anywhere. Or, other kinds of stories. The point is, go to plotdevices.co and purchase 27 Story Clock workbooks. And don't be friends with anyone who requires that you scare them in order to win their approval.